Got one. Good. Alright, that's flint and steel. And chaga. Build a pretty big coal here. Alright, let me take my glasses off. Let's get some other pieces of chaga burning. Okay, so we took steel, so carbon steel. We scratched off or used our saw and our multi-tool to scrape off powdery chaga. And now we're just using larger pieces to take that coal and make it larger, and that's what we would drop into our tinder bundle. So now this could be char cloth, but char cloth is something you would have to make. Tinder fungus, like chaga, can be found in the wild, and in Texas we've got chaga, we just don't have birch chaga, but we do have chaga. It grows on walnut trees, so this would be a good natural option, especially if you carry around a carbon blade knife. Now you'll notice I have used mine before. I just don't want to wear it out. So you see that rough edge there on my knife. That's where I'll normally break off a piece. But I wanted a thinner portion. It's much easier. You can see how that carbon steel gets heated up when it impacts something really hard. And then that heats it up and a spark comes off, and then that's what's thrown into either char cloth, chaga. Even if you didn't have this, let's say you attempted a bow drill, you can take the powder. So that's what this is right here. That's just some powder from attempts at making fire, and that'll catch a coal. So all of those are viable alternatives as coal extenders to catch a spark. But this is carbon steel, and I used flint. So we have a natural flint down here, so this is chert, and you can see the calcium carbonate on the outside. That's not what is, the calcium carbonate's not hard enough, so like limestone's not going to be hard enough, but this flint or chert on the inside is. And so I had flint napped off pieces of the calcium carbonate, got down to the flint, and actually chipped off pieces of the flint as well, and that's what I was using. So you hold the flint in your hand and then you strike at an angle the carbon steel. If you do it right, it'll deflect a piece off into your chaga or char cloth, whatever you're using to catch that ember or that spark. The problem with char cloth is if you don't have it, then it's kind of hard to make out in the wild if you don't have a fire. So obviously here we're making a fire. So that's the reason tinder fungus is a better option. Making coal dust by attempting a bow drill or a hand drill or some sort of friction fire method, and if that fails, collecting the coal dust and catching a spark off the carbon steel. So you could use quartz, any kind of hard rock where you can strike steel, carbon steel against it. Can't be stainless steel, it has to be carbon steel. Against it will take off a spark. That's the reason I bought this knife. Is you can buy this Mora as a stainless steel option, but the problem is I can't use it to throw a spark. But you can see I've kind of worn out the top part of my mora by striking it against something hard. That's the reason I don't want to do it unless I have to. And that's the reason I opted for this. Plus this has a thinner edge here, and that's what I ideally will make it easier to throw that spark. Now you can take pyrite and strike it against another hard rock. Typically up in the north you're going to take, or wherever you can find pyrite in its natural setting, which is very difficult to find, so Colorado would be a good place. You find pyrite, if you can find a large enough segment of it, you can strike it against quartz, and that'll throw a large enough spark if you didn't have something that's iron. So you can also do that against flint or chert, and it'll throw a spark. Now if you look at this, ooh, hot. Let's see if I can grab that where there's not a coal. That's the reason I threw those larger chunks in with the powder, so that I didn't have to rely on that dust. What if that dust blows away? Here I'm trying to take the coal and transfer it over. That one doesn't have one yet, but you get the idea. Trying to transfer the coal over to something larger.